What's happening, Hardscapers? This is episode 252 of the How to Hardscape podcast, where we talk about how you can start and grow your hardscaping business. And on today's episode, we have Matt Mastromarino. He is Masco Construction, masco.construction on Instagram. And he does a lot of beautiful masonry work. And it's about time we dedicate some time on this podcast to some of the amazing work that masons do. Also in the industry, we've really focused a lot on the interlocking concrete pavement, segmental retaining wall side of things with our contractors that come on the show. But we also need to show some love to the beautiful natural stone mason work that gets done also in this industry. Not that we haven't in the past. We have had Mark from Green Monster Landscaping, who also does a lot of beautiful natural stone work. Kevin from Hardscaping Canada Training. And I'm sure others that I'm just not remembering off the top of my head right now. But here we are with Matt from Masco.construction, and we get into a lot of different topics, specifically around his work and the art that goes into the work that he does. So that's a big topic of conversation, and how he charges for that and how he figures out the pricing for what he does here. But before we get into today's episode, I want to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. For looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to Cycle CPA at cyclecpa.com. Let them know How to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. And you can go check out also the How to Hardscape headquarters software. And if you're looking for a software to jump into before the season starts for you, if it hasn't already, the How to Hardscape headquarters software will help you budget, estimate job costs, schedule, time track, manage your employees, their time off requests, reports, and now also our training courses for interlocking concrete pavement and our segmental retaining wall course, as well as many other courses that we already have developed. Those two main ones are 3 hours each, and there's a 50-question test at the end of it. And those are rolled into the software, and you'll be able to actually just assign them directly to your employees and to be able to onboard them, train them. And you can also create your own courses as well, your own onboarding course, or however you want to work that with the courses section within the software. And it's also going to be a focus moving forward for developing more training-based courses within the software for you to use. So if you're interested in that, that is members.howtohardscape.com for now, if you want to go check it out there, or shoot me a message at howtohardscape on Instagram, contact at howtohardscape.com if you want to send me an email for a demo to get that set up, and I can show you around the software and see how it might help you in your business. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode with Matt. Today we're joined by Matt Mastromarino. He is known as Masco.construction on Instagram. Beautiful, gorgeous, natural stone mason work. Matt, I am honored to have you on the show to talk about this and everything that you got going on over there. Matt, thanks so much for joining us here.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Let's get started, Matt, to get to know a little bit more about you, yourself, how you got started in the industry. Give our audience a little bit of context, a little bit of background about how your beginnings went all the way to kind of where you are now. And we'll fill in some questions with some follow-up here.
Sweet. Yeah, man. Well, I mean, right off the bat, dude, I think I'm actually like in the beginning right now, which is crazy. It's like, I'm turning 31 in April. So I got started by being a laborer for my father, who's like considerably older, right? He just turned 84, or sorry, he's turning 84 in May. And so I worked with him from like high school on, and I was only really able to even get a start in it because he just physically couldn't do it anymore. Right. So it's like I started out like mixing mortar and then like, you know, laying brick and that type of thing. But so I mean, just in a few years, we've kind of been able to get to where we're at, which, like I was just saying, it's like I consider it to be like a beginning, because it's like you look at you know, just like what's happened in like maybe 2 or 3 years and the projects I've been able to be a part of. It's like, what's going to happen in another 2 or 3 years? Who knows? No idea.
Absolutely. So you start with your dad and eventually you move off on your own. What is the catalyst for you to actually move off on your own?
Well, basically, dude, just like necessity. It's like all right, so he stopped, he just couldn't do it anymore. So I was basically like, I see the value in this, right? Like you got a 76-year-old dude who people are like still calling all the time. Like now he's in his 80s, but at the time it's like he's trying to retire, and you got general contractors calling him to do like all types of stuff. And we weren't like building moon gates and crazy granite walls or nothing. It was mostly your typical like paving, like pavers and bluestone, and then like all the way to like repointing chimneys and interior fireplace repairs, stuff like that. So it's like I'm looking at, and then by the way, he's getting great money for it, and I'm like, all right, I wasn't really considering even doing that as a living, because by the way, you grow up and your parents are telling you like you growing up, you're like, I want to be a mason, right? And your dad's like, no, you don't. It sucks. Like you're gonna bust your ass, and you should do something that doesn't require busting your ass. And I just kind of fell into it because it was like at that time he's like 76 or something, and I'm at this like crossroads of like, all right, um, the whole thing at the time was like everybody should go to college. Everybody should go. Like now, I think it's more accepted that, and people see the value of like trades in general. Um, but at the time, everyone's expecting you to go to college. So that's kind of the catalyst. Like I saw the value in it. I'm going, this I can just do what he was doing, and it worked for him. He raised us doing that. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm gonna give it a go.
So at that point in time, when you decide to go out on your own, do you believe that you have the skills necessary, or what do you do in order to kind of level up your skills to where you are today? Is it just practice? And give us a little walkthrough as to how you got to where you are today there.
Dude, it absolutely not. I didn't think I had. I still like, you know what I mean? Like I was looking at it like, okay, I have all these tools, like, well, both like figurative and literally. Like I have, like his tools, and I'm not talking about like excavators and shit like that. It was really just a bag of trowels and chisels and stuff. And then that old dump truck that I got, that I've since fixed up. It's like halfway done. I put a new bed on it. Blah blah blah. But basically, I didn't have any real skills other than the fact that I knew the basics. I know how to pull lines and screed stuff, and I know how to level works and the tape measure works, that type of thing. But I quickly realized, like, okay, this is what my dad was talking about. This is why he didn't want me to do this. This is like backbreaking work, right? So, and I'm looking around at like the ocean of contractors in this field, and and I'm not like shitting on anybody. It's just like there's everything from like the same guy could quote you $100, and then another guy's quoting you $20,000, and you're like, well, what's going on here? So to me, I'm going, I need to put myself in a position where the people that want the $20,000 jobs are calling instead of $100, that type of thing. And it's like the only way you're going to get there is if you give. This is my logic at the time. It's like, okay, this lady's contracted me to do the $100 job. Well, I want to give her a $20,000 job, but she ain't going to pay for it. So, well, this is going to work. I'm just going to do really cool shit, and if you build it, they will come type of deal, right? And I think that's why I said at the beginning, it's like I think that's just starting to happen. It's like it was years of like doing like crazy shit for like not necessarily you're getting paid, and you're getting paid probably better than a lot of other people, but you're not really getting what you deserve, right? And I feel like if you don't do that, the people that like you can't build your skills unless you practice and do it. So I just took it upon myself. Like I said, I still think about it like an apprenticeship. Like if I was 20 years old, now I'm 30. It's like, all right, I'm kind of like at the end of my apprenticeship. I want to like really start doing it now. You know?
Very interesting. So, was it a deliberate move to go at it this route where, you know what, I'm going to do like
the next level thing. I'm going to do some beautiful, beautiful work to set myself apart from that guy that's quoting $100 so that I can be the premier company.
Yeah, dude. And actually, you just it just dawned on me. Like another turning point was this. It's like I had a background in masonry. Then at the time, my wife was doing like modeling, and she got contracted to be a part of this huge production on Buzzards Bay, which is like a really nice area of Massachusetts, right near the Cape. It's like the beginning of the Cape. Well, and like think like Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket and all these type of areas, right? This house was like 13,000 square foot house, and we stayed over a couple nights for this video production. And there's all these analytics involved. It's like whoever buys this house is going to be a billionaire. It's like, and there's only X amount of billionaires in the world, and 90% of them or 95% of them are men. So basically, like I said, my wife was the model. They basically, it was very classy situation. All she was doing was like walking through the house, and they're marketing towards a young billionaire, right? I walk into this house, dude, and unbeknownst to me, Lou French was commissioned to do an incredible interior and probably exterior. I'm not sure the extent of all the work that, like, who I know this though. Lou did a lot of work in there. At the time, I had no idea who Lou was, and I didn't have an Instagram either. Where am I going with this? Oh, so what happens is this house has got like a bowling alley, all this crazy shit, and then this insane stone feature that's like 3 stories, goes up a spiral staircase. There's a well cap, like this really rustic piece of stone that you just don't find anywhere. That has a waterfall feature built into it with lighting. And I mean, I'm coming from like a thin veneer, like the most natural stonework that I've done at the time was like a thin veneer, like little small, the kind of like bullshit jobs. And so I'm looking at this feature like, how did they get thin veneer like this? Like how did they do this? This is insane. And then I'm like really investigating it because it's super tight and it was just really nice. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't thin veneer. This is the real deal. All this to say is then flash forward maybe a year from there, and I'm scrolling Instagram, and I see Lou's, and at this point now I know who Lou French is, and he posted a picture of a fireplace in that house. I go, I've seen that fireplace before, and that was basically the real catalyst, right? I had a base, and then I found out, oh, there's a guy out there, and probably multiple guys out there that are just commanding, rightfully so, astronomical money for like the most high quality, the best of the best work. So I'm going, I need to be that guy, because now at that point, I did a deep dive on the guy, and I'm like, this is a dude who's down in Martha's Vineyard, like seemingly has like land down there, a nice setup down there, and then also a place in Brazil. And like, the grass is always greener type of thing. All I know is like, there's a successful guy. He's got books and movies and shit about him. Not that I necessarily aspire for that type of thing, but I'm going, there's your business model right there. Like, you know what I mean? There's pavers and there's all this stuff. That's all well and good. You could probably make a total killing doing that. I know this guy's making millions of dollars doing that. But I'm like, here's like a single dude who's known for doing like the coolest shit ever. So I'm like, that's kind of what I'd like to do type of thing. So
makes a lot of sense. So when you decide that, where do you start to get those clients that are willing to pay for that custom work, that beautiful stonework? Where and then do you start with like a lower price and build yourself up with a portfolio to get to where you are today, where you can charge what you're charging today?
Yeah, dude. So basically, what happened from that story I just told you is I got like this fire under my ass. I had just bought my house, by the way, and I had, a brick fireplace in there that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make a little miniature version of what I just saw at my own house, and that fireplace literally in my profile picture. That if you go to my Instagram, you see this. There's like a little fireplace in that little circle picture. That's at my own house. That was my first like real deal, like stone, like nice stone project in my eyes. And So to answer your question, like I didn't find any clients. Like I couldn't because I wasn't that guy yet. Um, and so I did that fireplace and posted the shit out of it. And then from there, it's foggy, but basically that kind of got the ball rolling. Like, oh, this guy does actually know how to do stonework. Can I have something like that? Oh yeah, I did a chimney in the same type of stone, like wrap the chimney. And I did it for like, dude, I did it for like 10 grand. I like at the time I was like, wow, I'm gonna make like the veneer cost 2 grand. I'm gonna make 8 grand and I could probably do this in 2 weeks. So like, this is like going back maybe six, not even 6 years. I forget. I'm not sure, but basically, yeah. Then I did. It just kind of there's like a snowball effect. Like I had to prove I could do it, and then you get the people that want it but they can't afford it. So then you're like, all right, well, I don't want to take a step back and start doing like cultured stone or like what I mean. You're trying to always progress forward with your skills and like the end result. So then there's many years, even up to like last year, dude, that I was doing stuff that I didn't really have a basis for how to price it. But like just as of recently, like you get people that come out of the woodwork and say, "Hey, I want to do what you just did," and I saw. And by the way, one of the great things about Instagram is you're posting what you're doing, and I think it translates to people that like, "Oh, this is a pain in the ass. Like this is a lot of work. This you don't just go out and buy the stuff at Home Depot." So it's like a perfect situation where you got the people that can afford it and they're watching you do it and they have this like there's like intrinsic value in it, like it's like they know what they're getting into type of thing. But even then like I will say you can go crazy with the natural stone. It's like the difference between getting like a like really nice tight joint on a block that's like the size of this table here. It's like that could take you all day long just to get that tight tolerance. So now that one stone just set you back a whole day. Whereas if you just threw it in, it might look great to 90% of the people, but it's like it gets difficult. It gets foggy. I'm still, like I said, that's why I said I'm still kind of in the beginnings of figuring out how to do it correctly.
How do you go about pricing yourself for something, especially something that you've never done before? And how do you go about educating your client as to how much this actually costs? Because I'm sure you get a lot of people reaching out wanting it, but they just don't even understand how much it's going to actually cost them.
So what I've found is helpful is like you got to show like, and another part that's great about like the Instagram is like you're building a portfolio. So you can literally at this point now I can go onto my Instagram and show them like, okay, there's this, and then you can scroll around and find other stuff. It's like if you want this, it's going to be somewhere in this ballpark. If you want this, it's going to be like double that type of thing. And it's like, well, yeah, I still get it all the time. It's like the guy just the other day. He's like, well, hold on. How come it costs this? Swenson Granite has that in stock for X, and I'm like, it's like, I guess it's different. To answer your question, it's difficult. But what I've found is the best way to do it if we're building like these big granite walls is you start out like, look, this is what I want per hour, right? This is what I need to keep my machines there. This is what I put it in their hands. It's like on this particular wall I'm doing, I'm in Gloucester. The Gloucester, for people that aren't aware, it's like historically it's like the Mecca, Gloucester and Rockport. There's been like, millions of tons of granite harvested there throughout the course of history. Like, going back, maybe 300 years, whatever. I'm not 100% sure on the history, but I know it's like they've shipped granite all over the world. So here you are, you got a guy that just saw that wall we did up in Maine for Matthew Cunningham. And he's going, I want that. I'm like, yeah, me too, dude. This is what it's going to cost. And he was like, can't do that. And I was like, okay, well, this is what we can do. You supply the material, like, and I gave him the contacts of, literally, by the way, it's like 3 miles away from his house. He's got a big pile of stone. sorry to go on a tangent here, but he's got this big pile of stone that he thinks is going to build this wall. I go, listen, buddy, this is going to build you about 10% of the wall. So, people have like an idea and then it's like, oh shit, this is like way bigger than I thought. I'm like, yeah, I know. So I try to be flexible, I guess, to answer your question. I'm like, look, we'll start out with this. This is what I want an hour. This is what it's going to cost. You supply the material, and then we get going. And it's like, on that wall, like I started out a little more rustic than I'm actually ending up, because as the project goes, the client gets more comfortable, sees what's going on. That's just one way to approach it. But like I find that you scare people off if you go, look at that's going to cost $500,000. Like it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Like it gets a little hairy. Versus like if you go look at if you guys are able to, we can do this in chunks. And for this, that's why I'm so happy with this project in particular. It's like I'm getting, we're kind of helping each other. I just was able to go back up to Maine, work up that way, then come back, do a fireplace, here, there, and everywhere. And then ultimately that's a new construction. So it's not like the retaining wall is like, I'm not holding anybody up by bouncing around. And what that also does is it helps the client, like, okay, we split this up in chunks. So it's like more digestible. Like you can't just, drop, as the budget allows type of thing. So I guess all this to say is like, just like stonework, the process of pricing the stonework is very nuanced as well. And even someone like me, I'm still figuring that out.
So basically, like you give them a time and material rate, and then do you provide them with like, this is what the range is likely going to be for that project?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then like also, by the way, that particular project started, the idea was something totally different than what we have right now. Like originally that wasn't supposed to be anywhere near what we were doing. It was supposed to be like kind of like a rustic boulder wall, terraced. And then it just, I guess people, another thing too, that I kind of pride myself on a little bit is like the design of the whole thing. Like I'm talking about like functional design, like, it's very easy for the customer to be like, oh, well, this wall only needs to be 4 feet high. It's like, well, no, actually your garage is right there. So your garage isn't going to come down. It's there. You want to drive your car up there. Like, so it quickly went from like, okay, this is going to be a 4-foot wall by, 20 feet. And it's like, well, actually, no, it's like 7.5 feet tall by 100 and something feet, or like 80, I forget. But, that happened like as we're going. We started out, and then he realized what I was saying. It's like, oh yeah, but in order to hold this, in order for your driveway to be level, the wall needs to be up higher, or else you're going to have a wall and then a hill. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So what's the like pre-qualification process like for you when somebody reaches out to you, say on your Instagram, they've seen something? Do you get like a lot of people saying, oh, that's like as much as a doctor makes when you tell them your
Yes.
time rate, or are you able to like weed people out to a point where you don't kind of get that kind of pushback anymore?
That, like I was saying, that's just started to happen. Like the people I'm starting to get involved with already are aware, like, yeah, that is what a doctor makes. In fact, if I have it my way, it's like, no, I want to make more than a doctor, dude, because like I said, there's people out there doing it. What I'd like to eventually get to is like this, it's kind of like corny or whatever, right? But in my bio, it says artist. It's like, yeah, because I'm not trying to make Mason money. I want to make like artist money. It's like, if there's people out there painting these crazy pictures, or like, there's that guy that does the pencil drawings, and then there's like, all different categories of artists, and they get commissioned to do things. And it's like, they're taking raw materials and making something. It took them like 400 hours. The materials only cost a few $100s, and they get in, fill in the blank. That same concept it should translate through to Stone. I mean, of all things, it definitely should. So that's my way of looking at it. And yeah, so I've had that exact thing. You know, oh, that guy thinks he's a doctor. It's like, well, no, I don't. I just think I'm an artist. That I'm working with Stone. So for now, sure. Like let's say last year, I was doing a lot of flat work. I'm not really a fan of the flat work. Um, I I mean, I'm a fan of it, but I don't want to do it the rest of my life type thing. So yeah, yeah, I've heard that before. The weeding out part is difficult, but with this big following now, I'm finding people that that you never know who's out there, dude. I got a guy up in Vermont that doesn't have any followers and doesn't post anything, but the guy's got 450 acres up in Vermont, and he's here, there, and everywhere. The more I find out about him, I'm like, oh, geez, I should stop. Forget being an artist. I want to do whatever he's doing. You know what I mean? So it's like the people are out there. And as the following grows and more interest, gets drawn to the page, I'm finding like there's more and more people like that you'd never even realize are out there watching.
Did you ever expect that posting on Instagram would bring that sort of following? And you hit 100,000 followers for anybody listening into this. Was this kind of like the expected outcome of starting to post on Instagram?
Dude, like I guess everybody, I mean, maybe not, I shouldn't say everybody, but if you're running a business and you start a business page for your Instagram, that's what you want to happen. But at the time, dude, and even to this day, I still treat that page almost like a personal account. Like I don't have the bandwidth to like, I wish I did. Like I want to start a YouTube. I kind of want to do the TikTok, but I don't really get a good vibe from the TikTok. But I definitely want to do a YouTube, and I definitely want to do all these things. But I just don't have the kind of like the time, if you will, which might be an excuse. But I guess to answer the question, it's like, no, I started it because of a local buddy of mine. Actually, you should look him up. But Commutus Builds, or sorry, maybe if you want to edit this, Alexander. I forget the fucking kid's name, but I know his name. I just forget his business.
Yeah.
But basically, dude, he was like, Matt, you should. I'm posting on my personal page like the formative years of doing like pavers and XYZ. And he's like, bro, you got to start a business page. Now, I will say the big catalyst for the page was Reels. As much as like I would rather Instagram just be all pictures like it used to be. But the reality is they're trying to compete with TikTok and all these other platforms. So what happened was I started the Instagram, and then shortly after that, Reels started. And I was like, this is overwhelming. I don't know what the fuck this is. But then started playing around with it, and a little bit more background. Like I used to skateboard, and it wasn't very good. But like me and my buddies would make skate videos and shit on like those cameras you'd get at CVS, and you'd edit them right there on the camera.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. We'd like in elementary school, middle school, like doing the stupidest shit. And then like, there's the jackass. Like at that time, that was like cool. Like, oh, we could film myself doing this shit. So there's a little background on the situation. So then Instagram starts the Reels, and dude, like 30,000 followers I got from just one video. Like I believe, like I have to check the analytics, but it's something insane like that. Like this was like, and by the way, it's like some video of me like putting brick pavers down, like on a project that I was dovetailing like 7-inch thick granite curbs together. Like the granite video did okay. I think it got like, actually that one of them did very well. It was like I put like 3-6 Mafia in the background music. You know what I mean? Shit like that. And I think it did like 2 million views like pretty quickly. But the one that went nuts was like a brick walkway. And so that's happening like right now to this day. I'll post something like that fireplace I just did. I thought it was the coolest video of all time. And it gets like 20,000 views. But then on the contrary, I posted like a staircase that I made these little brick bow ties. And I just threw this little staircase together in like 2 days. And that video did like 8 million views. And I got like, not 30,000, but I got like at least, I think I got like 8,000 or 9,000 followers just from that one video. So, wow. Yeah. So it's like, it's a wacky platform, man, and I've still yet to really figure out exactly like you know. I mean, I know certain things like just while we're on this little tangent here, uh, uh, that brick bow tie staircase. I know exactly why that video did so well. Now that it's up there, you're going through the comments. It's like 55,000 likes and like thousands of comments and shit. It's like 4,000 shares. And a lot of it is like, most of it's positive. Like people love it. Then there's like 40%, like a good amount of people that absolutely cannot stand it. And it infuriates them that I even tried to do something like this. They can't grasp the concept that like you can be artistic. You can do things that aren't necessarily the norm. And all this to say, it's like that video, unfortunately, like conflict drives that algorithm. You post a video of like everybody holding hands and getting along and something that people, or like, I guess something that people see every day, it might go viral. But you do something like that causes this conversation to start about like if it's right or wrong or this or that. And then you got people sending like, hey, get a load of this guy. I'm sure most of the sharing is like, wow, this is cool. I want this. I know for a fact there's a lot of it like, look at this asshole. Like, and so it's kind of funny. What goes viral? Like I guess like I did this. You pour your heart into a fireplace. It takes you 2 or 3 weeks to do, and you make this like sick video. You think it's going to do good. The algorithm's like, no, we're going to do this staircase, and you get 10 million views on that. You know what I mean? We're going to block the thing you want. It's almost like they literally actively block things from moving up in the chain. It's very strange.
We want to take a break from today's episode to thank our sponsor, Cycle CPA. Are you basing your business decisions solely on a gut feeling? If so, you may be leaving potential profits on the table. It's crucial to base these important decisions on your financials, whether you're planning to hire a new employee, add another crew, purchase equipment or vehicles, or take on more debt to support a new service line. At Cycle CPA, they not only handle bookkeeping and taxes, but they also provide guidance and advisory services tailored to the landscape and hardscape industry. Their team of specialized accountants ensures that when it comes to making the next key decision in your company, you'll have a financial partner in your corner. So visit them at cyclecpa.com, and for $200 off, mention the How to Hardscape podcast. Now back to our episode.
With the Instagram, is that basically your primary source of leads coming in? Because
Yes.
don't think you have a website.
No, I don't. And you know what I should do? I need to get a website. I need to get some merch too. If you look at me, I guess there's not a video of this, but like I don't even have my own logos and shit on my shirts. Like there's a lot of shit I want to do, and that's why when I first started, I was telling you, it's like this is just the beginning. But yeah, to answer your question, the leads as of late are like almost 100% from Instagram. It's just like a snowball effect of things that happen. It's like I was saying, that I did a fireplace, then this happened, then this happened. Next thing you know, Dan, you should check out Maine Stonescapes, right? Dan Morales, he's a wicked solid guy. You got people like this, right? That this is why I say it's directly from Instagram. It's because I wouldn't know Dan from a hole in the wall. He's like way up in he's at least an hour away from me. The project we did is like 3 hours away. But basically, you got things like this happen all the time that, oh, I saw you from Instagram, or this guy shared your video and then I started following you, and then, blah, blah, blah. So, and then like from that project, a guy in Gloucester who's following along with the project, who has a big pile of rocks in his backyard, is like, hey, that's what I want. Like people don't even know what they want until they see it, type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. Instagram's been great with the leads. But that being said, it's just like anything else. You get people from here, there, and everywhere, dude. So it's like you got to weed through the leads.
Where else are your leads coming from? Mostly like word of mouth, or do you do any commercial? Like where are those coming from?
No, so the only thing I've done, it's all word of mouth. To answer your question, going all the way back to like my dad's. The era that my dad, me and my dad I was working for him. It was never any commercial. It was all word of mouth. And it's just like one thing happened. And as soon as you're done with that job, somebody else is calling, type of thing. So the only time I did commercial, I would go on, like, before Instagram, I'd use Facebook. And Facebook, it's like the boomer app, right? There's like a lot of older people, the older demographic, which if you're trying to run a business is actually great, because that's the only downfall to Instagram. And that's why I'm not interested in TikTok. It's because, like, views and shares and all likes and all that shit are great, but like they're not paying the bills, right? I mean, maybe some people's bills are getting paid by that, but mine aren't. So, like, you have to monetize your work. You're basically posting commercials when you post a reel, right? But that being said, I went into Facebook. Now, this is when I was like, I don't know, 19 or 20, and I would post. Facebook would allow you to boost them, like boost the post. So I did a couple of those. I found that you're attracting the wrong people. For me, anyways, what I was trying to accomplish, it's like, I don't necessarily want employees, right? Unless I really get myself into a position where, oh shit, I need employees. I haven't really got there yet. I'm sure I could use some employees, but from what I hear from everybody else, it's like, and from what I've dabbled in it, just like I've put people on like subcontract. It's what I'm specifically trying to do. It's like I can't necessarily. I'd have to teach somebody. Like, this is what I'm finding. Anybody that can do it is already doing their own thing, or is busy otherwise. So you'd have to get somebody. And by the way, I wish I could. I get people all the time. They're like, "Hey, let me come and work for you for free." That's like super flattering and great in concept, but like in theory. But then, like, what that actually means is, like, you have to invest yourself into this person for a long time, hold their hand. So you're not necessarily like being productive by doing that. And then also then you teach them, and they're gonna want the bucks. So it's like I'm finding myself on this weird balancing act, trying to be productive, but then also not trying to put out like a subpar product. So I guess I don't know where we got from, how we got there, but
no, that's great. That kind of answers my next question about employees. Like, how do you go about actually, training somebody in this art, essentially, and kind of preserve your style? It's not like you can just leave them on site, because you want to have like your vision come to life, right? As an artist, it's difficult it's difficult for a business owner, not only involve themselves, to pick up an employee and train them, but when you are doing what you do, it's a whole nother level of difficulty.
Yeah, man. Yeah, specifically too, like, for example, I keep referring to this wall because I'm like in the throes of like finishing it right now. I'm really pumped about it. But like, for me to like be able to say, like, it's very easy for someone to look at this and be like, hey, how come you don't have help? Like, why can't you just drop a guy? And like, it's like, what guy am I dropping at that site, putting them in my excavator and saying, hey, you see that 8,000 pound boulder? I want it to be like this in such a way. And then I also want all these others, you know what I mean? It's like, I have this vision in my head of what I want. And by the way, it boils down to like, it's marketing. It's like, I'm very passionate about what I'm doing. I want it to be awesome too, but it's also like, I'm trying to steer this ship into a direction. So it's like, I don't want to take on help and then have that direction get like pushed in the wrong way. Like, it's like, and maybe that's like, it's definitely detrimental to like actually getting the job done in a timely manner. But like I keep saying, it's like, that's really not what I'm looking to do in the long run. Like, I don't care if it's going to take 6 months to finish a wall. If the client is happy and the client's paying the money, and you know what I mean? If everybody's happy, there's no real need for that. So that being said, that you could scale it, but you know where I'm going?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, again, I'm going to keep representing. I'm just figuring it out as I go. And I'm just looking at what's coming what's coming down the pipeline. I'm like, yeah, it's I guess proof of concept of what I was trying to accomplish. Like when I saw that Lou fireplace and that crazy feature he did in that house, like, all right, people are out there paying for this type of thing. It might as well be me. So, but to get to that point, the formula is not necessarily hiring people and, doing what I guess everybody else is doing, like, or they think that you should do. It's not necessarily the way to do it. I'm coming to find out.
Yeah. It's a whole nother complexity when it's not only custom, but it is, like you say, art. Like just to compare it to the green industry as a whole, lawn maintenance would be the easiest because there's systems in place and it's nice and easy. It's not that hard of a skill necessarily in comparison. And then like pavers would be the next step up, installing hardscapes and such. And then where you're at with the masonry work would be like a whole nother level because there's so much complexity that goes into it and the customization. And like you said, the vision as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So it's like literally one of the most nuanced trades you could get into. It's because I liken it to this. It's like, and then another perfect example of how much money is in this. It's like you think about it this way. I just had an electrician at my house. Great kid, by the way. This dude stopped at that Gloucester site and asked if this house had anybody wiring it, because at this point in time, they hadn't even started wiring the house. Here's this like young kid comes up to me asking for the homeowner. He wants to wire the house. Well, the guy already had an electrician, but I go, buddy, I got shit going on in my house. Like, I could use you. He got what the market is getting, but I mean, I don't know if you ever hire in my area, right? You hire an electrician, they're gonna first of all make a fucking mess, and they're gonna get like $250 an hour, something like insane. Like, I guess all this to say, it's like they're doing something, they did it well, but there's not necessarily there's a very specific way to do this. If you don't do it that way,
yes,
it's not. You're going to burn your house down. Somebody's going to get killed. Like, do it this way, and unequivocally, it's either going to be right or wrong. Now, it can be neat or messy and stuff, but it's like that's kind of like the way with most trades, like plumbing. Like, you can't plumb. There's no like real like artistic way to plumb a sink. Like, it has to do what it. You know what I mean? Whereas on the masonry side, there's literally like an unlimited amount of ways it can go. So that's another thing to think about. Like, and by the way, it's like if those electricians are getting that money and you're building a moon gate for somebody with like a 2,000-pound keystone, yeah, like, and I'm just making up numbers at this point, but it's like, yeah, well, you want that's going to be $1 million, like that, you know what I mean? Something stupid like that. But then again, it's like, you put yourself in a position where how many people in the country, like, I'm not saying, I'm sure lots of people can do it, but I'm saying like the logistics behind like getting all of the things together to make that full circle, like, you know what I mean? To get that, bring all these little pieces to make the full circle. There's not a whole lot of people that can do that. So, I guess like I keep saying, that's where you want to be. That's where when I started the page, I go, I want to be the Lou French guy. But again, there's a lot of other people like the Lou Frenches. It's not just one guy, but there's like, and everybody has their own specific style.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So going off that point, and I don't want to hold you up too much longer here, Matt, if you're busy there, but you mentioned the amount of people that do what you do. How many people do what you do in your immediate area? Or are you having to travel around a little bit for these jobs? Like, what's the competition like when you have the skills that you do?
So there are geographically, that's another interesting thing. It's like I just so happen to be born in an area that is conducive to awesome stonework. There's a lot of great stonemasons in my area. By the way, a lot of these guys don't have Instagram and like will just laugh at just this whole conversation. They're probably like laughing, like, get a load of this guy. But that being said, I don't think there's competition when you get and I'm not like tooting my own horn. I'm just like saying when you get to this point in like what this style, this level of work, there's really no competition. It's all like that would be a famine mentality. There's like there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of work out there. And there's a lot of money in my particular area. Well, just to give you guys an idea, I'm like right outside of Boston, and from the whole New England area is just full of not only awesome stone, like there's just physical material, but awesome stonemasons. Now that being said, there's not even though there's a lot of money in the area, there's not like too many people that are going to contract you to build that Moongate that Mark and Matt built, right? It's like there's only a couple of those guys out there. I was recently just hit up by a woman in Virginia that is interested in one of these. She's right outside of DC. She wants it for a residential garden. And I mean, I'm not counting my ducks, you know what I mean, like, or whatever that saying is. It's like I'm just drawing a reference. Like this lady hit me up from Instagram and is like, I want this. That's and that's why I say like logistically, right? Now imagine this. Down in Virginia, some lady wants a New England granite Moongate. Well, the New England granite's up in New England. So that's where it becomes this crazy thing. And that's where it's like, yeah, we're not, that's where it's like, there's not a whole lot of people that are going to do that. I'm sure there's many people in Virginia there's many people in that area that can physically know how to do what we're talking about. But when you get into like, oh, I saw this Instagram video. Yeah, I want that type of stone. I want those big pieces of granite. Well, I'm sure granite, you get granite many different places, but there's a reason it's called New England granite because it's from New England. So, yeah, man. And by the way, you're not holding me up. I got time today, dude.
Okay, beautiful. So then my next question is, how do you explain that vision that you have to your client? Is it a matter of like pointing to a picture and saying it's going to look like this, but it's not going to look exactly like this? How do you explain that vision, show them that vision, and then also explain to them that it is art? It's not going to look exactly as you promised there.
Yeah. Well, okay. Two stories. And this is funny because you can actually scroll through my Instagram and find this. This one is on the negative side where it's like I did something for a woman and it's definitely my fault because what I did was I like, and not to sound like a Lou French fanboy. I'm not. I'm just trying. He's a prominent figure, so people have a reference point to see what I'm talking about. He did something that I always wanted to try. He like split this piece of granite and inserted like these like little stones in between the split. That's kind of like one of his things. And I think I'm gonna try it. I did it. I thought it was the balls. Her husband thought it was the balls. She did not like it, so she made me take it out, which I understand. That's fine. I was happy because I was able to do it, and I thought it looked sick. So I'm like, all right, I can put this somewhere else. But that woman just wasn't on the same artistic wavelength, I guess, right? Which is fine. So, fine. I'll take it out, do something else. On the other end of things, there's a guy that dude I was talking about up in Vermont. They had a very specific idea what they wanted, and they like jumped through hoops to get a very specific kind of granite. And I believe this is actually out of New York. It's like this Adirondack granite, like reclaimed curbing though. And I was doing coping around this huge pool, and we're dovetailing it. We're doing all types of crazy shit. He didn't vocalize it. He told me this after. There was one particular stone that I loved, and originally, like we were going to do. The coping was supposed to be cut like on the exterior. So like on the inside of the pool, you see this rustic hand chiseled, we call it first generation, tooling. But then on the outside, it was supposed to be cut with like a saw, nice and straight. And to me, it was kind of sacrilegious because I'm going, you have this beautiful material. We're going to cut this so it's nice and straight. Like we can make this look like a live edge. Like I likened it to wood, like what I mean? To give that idea to him, like, live edge slab tables. Let's do the live edge granite. And he was like, he let me do it. I go, listen, let me do this the way I want it. And with the, under the impression that like, if you don't like it, we can do what you want. I'll just cut it in place, which is what we're going to have to do anyways. So let me do what I'm doing, and then you can be the judge. Ended up doing it the way I was explaining it to him at first. He couldn't really see it. Did it. Now he's physically looking at it. And he told me, he's like, Matt, I thought this was going to look stupid. This is like this particular stone that I thought was a throwaway is now my favorite stone in this whole project. So it's like that type of shit's priceless, man. When you can like explain what you want to do, then be on the fence about it, then execute it, and then be like, wow, let's like this is awesome. Like that's what you want. You know?
That's amazing. So then how much of these details are spontaneous? How much of these details are like you're on the job site and then you pitch it to the client? Like for example, that scenario in and of itself, but also I'm looking on your reels. You did a clay brick sort of bow tie tying together to granite slabs there. Like how much of these details are spontaneous? You pitch the client, or that you know them beforehand and you let the client know this is what we're going to do?
Yeah, so that was the viral video I was talking about. That one in particular, it's very cool that person actually contacted me and wanted dovetails. Now, they didn't know exactly what they wanted. They didn't, in fact, they probably didn't even know exactly what a dovetail is. They just saw that I did something like that and I'm calling it a dovetail. So they're like, hey, I want this staircase. Can you dovetail it like you do? And I'm like, hell yeah, dude, definitely. And then I start, you know, I usually do like a quick sketch of what it's going to look like. And when I say quick, I mean like it's I do it quickly, but I do it proportionally. So it's like I'm doing it on like graph paper. So it's like if the proportions work on paper, that's great. Now let's go see what it's going to look like. It wasn't going to be the brick, right? It was going to be granite on granite. And that house in particular was built by this dude's father. This guy wasn't a mason. He was just like this old. What's your last name?
Sorry, mute. Pletz.
Okay. What's the
it's like Polish, heritage? German.
Okay. Well, that's this guy was Polish, right? And he just threw like his father like threw a house together out of old brick. So Styles and Hart brick. It's S&H. It's like a pretty famous brick. This was before the Hart. It was just Styles brick. They're like really old. And so I demolished the old, you know, at that point, by the way, too, not to go on a tangent, but too late. But these in the industry, like this point of contention about using mortar, right? Like dry stone guys hate mortar. Like they can't stand a guy that uses mortar. They think it's cheating or something. I'm not sure. But this staircase was built by a dude 65 years ago. It was still actually in great, it could have lasted another 20, 30 years. Took that all apart. And now as I'm taking it apart, I'm looking at these awesome brick. I'm like, dude, I'm using brick for the risers and we're doing granite treads for the treads. And originally it was supposed to be dovetail all granite. I go, buddy, what if we did like the granite surround, we do the brick in the middle, like for the actual landing, the brick's in the middle, and then we use to tie it together, you know, see what I did? Tie it together. We use these bow ties. I can make bow ties. And I just showed him like, look, instead of a dovetail, it's the same concept. And he was just like, oh yeah, let's definitely do that. Do whatever you want. I'm like, great. So with that particular job, the guy signed up for that and then allowed me to kind of play around with it from there.
Gotcha. And then how consistent is that with those like small details? Are they typically spontaneous, or are they typically planned in advance?
No, typically. So I think with every job I do, I'm always trying to do something different. Like I don't like monotony. I'd rather like do something different all the time. And so like, but typically those scenarios happen in like real time. Like you'll be just with that stickers I just talked about, that was kind of pre-planned. But like, for example, if you look at my reels again, you go scroll down a little bit to where at this granite wall I keep talking about in Gloucester, next door, there was a asphalt company doing a driveway. And this is like right out of like textbook, like what you want to happen as a stonemason. The asphalt guy digs out a 10.5 foot long, 18-inch thick or wide rather, and then like 10-inch tall. I mean, this thing's just a fucking unit of a stone. And he comes up to me and he's going, "Hey, do you have any use for this?" I'm like, yeah. So just to give you guys an idea, like the retail value of a stone like that, like if you go to like where the high end customers are going, like not like wholesale situation, they're getting like anywhere from $80, $90 a foot for this type of thing. So you just give me 11-foot long stone, um, for nothing, like because it's a pain in the ass for those type of guys to get rid of something like that. They either gotta definitely gotta put it in a truck, but they gotta crush it, this, that, the third. So literally next door comes over with this crazy looking stone too. You just check the video because it was really a spectacle of a stone. So it was like really wacky looking. So I go, dude, I definitely can use that, and I know exactly where I'm putting it. And this happens a lot with the stone. You pick it up now. I'm with the excavator now. You pick it up, you screw around with it. You say, all right, this is going to be the best way to do it. There's a couple of ways. It's like you have to put it in a way that it's going to be strong, but also you want it to look good. But ultimately, you want this wall to be strong. So you're kind of limited in what you can do in that regard. But dude, in this particular case with that stone, the guy brings it over. I picked it up with my excavator. I put it right on the wall, and I had to trim like an inch off of, various portions, and it fit like a glove. I mean, it's just perfect. So that's a perfect like example of like, yeah, a lot of it is sporadic and like made up right there on the site. There's no other way to do it. You have an idea what you want, but then you go and you're using these natural materials that might not cooperate in that way. So you just make it work the way the stone kind of wants to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you ever had to cut a project short just because what the vision was explained to the client just didn't match what they were going for, or they constantly are telling you, maybe we put this stone over here and that stone over here, messing with your vision? Have you ever had to walk off a project?
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. I was about to say no, because it doesn't really happen. But back a couple of years ago, that exact thing happened. Now, two things. One, this woman was out there literally choosing, like she's trying to build the stone. Like she's like, well, no, I don't think that stone looks good there. And again, looking good is one thing. You want it to look good, but it has to function. Like you have to build it in a way that it's not going to fall over. And particularly with me lately, I want to build shit that lasts like 1,000 years if possible, right? And this is where the guys will go, yeah, but you use mortar sometimes. It's like, look at um, the Colosseum was built with mortar. You know what I mean? And like there's many things all over the way. The pyramids built with mortar. Yeah, but that's not. It's listen. Mortar is very simple, dude. It's not like they're adding all types of different shit nowadays. It's different for sure, but people don't give that enough credit. You can use it in your advantage. Sorry to go down that hole, but yeah, you got a lady coming out picking up stone and trying to build a wall. I go, look at you want to build this or you want to let me build it? You're literally paying me to build this, and you're out there picking it. And it was all good. She's just passionate, and I understand that. So that's that. That's more just annoying, right? It's like whatever. Ended up doing it, worked out great, put the stones where she wanted, but that was in the beginning years. I'm like, all right, this is the people I do not want to work for. I respect the lady. I still been in touch with her, but that's one thing. Then there was another. Shortly after that, there was a contractor, like a home builder, like one of these guys that goes and develops lots, like buy like acreage and put these modular McMansions up. So a guy like that it does not value what I'm trying to do. But at the time, I'm trying to build a fucking reputation for doing nice stuff. So um, I gave him a crazy wall, dude. I mean, like again, you're getting paid. It's just a matter of did you get what you're worth. Um, Now I'm in the middle of doing all types of shit for the guy. I've done great stuff. He loves it. Everybody loves it in the neighborhood. And now as I continue on, I'm doing more and more stuff for him. He's like got this little attitude about him, and he's chirping, 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 chirping. I go, you know what? You finally hit a stage where you go, this is now no longer worth it for me at all. Like it was worth it in the sense that I'm building a reputation here. I am paying my bills, but now you have just crossed the threshold to this is now no longer worth it to me, and now I am leaving. So that's the only time that I can remember that I just told the guy, "Hey, listen, pound sand, buddy, I'm out of here. Go find someone else to do it." And this is another thing, dude. You know what he did? He very quickly found someone else to do it. So that's like the proof of concept. That's like me personally. I do not want to do stuff that like you can just call any Tom, Dick, and Harry to come and finish the project. Like you want to set yourself up into a situation where you're the only guy to do it because the 3 or 4, 5, 6 other guys in the New England area that can do it are busy doing other shit.
The drill holes for splitting. Do you ever get a client that
Yes.
doesn't like them and wants them hidden?
Absolutely. Very rare, but yes. And it's funny. Like stoneworking is like you're like constantly solving problems. It's like just one constant problem that you need to solve one after another. And what's great about the stone is like, look, you don't want these. Let me do this whole wall, and then when it's all done, if you don't like these drill marks, I'm going to take an oxygen acetylene torch and I'm going to burn these off. And it's as simple as that. So yeah, I get that a lot. Some people don't really love it. I do love it because it's like, look, those are telling a story, dude. Every time you see that, it involves somebody drilling into a fucking rock and then splitting it. It's like it took a lot of screwing around for it to look like that. I respect if they don't like it, dude. Because again, ultimately it's not natural. Like the stone didn't naturally break that way. But then it's like, well, how crazy do you want to get? That the stone didn't form into a wall by itself either. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those. And another thing about the drill holes, it's like it's authentic. So it's like you get these thin veneer jobs. You're not going to see that because just the nature of how that came to be. It's like a lot of times thin veneer is like the reject stone or like kind of like subpar stone that they cut into thin veneer. So it's like really not the greatest stuff to begin with. Just not exclusively, but typically you're getting like the leftovers. So you're not really going to see an authentic looking thin veneer without doing a lot of work. So I guess where I'm going with this is like that fireplace that I just recently did. I did a lot of my own cutting of thin veneer. A few notable pieces are like they're like the prominent pieces of the fireplace. They are the same thickness, generally speaking, as the rest of it, but like you look at it, you see those drill marks, and your brain is like, this is a fucking big piece of stone. Sorry that I keep swearing, by the way. I don't know if your demographic is cool with that.
We're good.
Okay?
We're good.
But okay, great. So I guess to answer the question, it's like, yeah, I think the people more and more that are wanting this type of work, that's a plus to them because they see the value of it. They say, wow, that's authentic. Some poor bastard drilled all these and split them open for me. That's great.
A few more questions here, Matt. I've already taken up a lot of your time here. So take as little or as much time with these answers as you would want here. What's something you haven't done yet that you want to do? Do you have any ideas that you're kind of saving or waiting for the right client?
Yeah, dude. Like I kind of touched on earlier, and the reason why I reached out to Mark and Matt, they were building a moon gate. And like for me, dude, that's always been since I first saw one, was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Because again, like the walls are great. Specifically that wall I'm doing now, and the wall we did up for Matthew Cunningham at Dan Main Stone Skates. Those are like art installations. There's not another one of those. The one up in Maine is the same style as the one in Gloucester, but they're two totally different things. They're like structures. They're like artistic structures, right? That's the whole business model. It's like I want to be the guy that's building the moon gates and like the sculptures, if you will. So I guess That's what I'm looking forward to doing more of. If that, I highly doubt it, but I highly doubt the lady out in Virginia that wants that moon gate's listening. But that's what I want to do. So if that, you know what I mean, and maybe if I'm not, I might be deleveraging myself from that because she knows I really want to do it now. But that's what I want to do. I want to be the guy that comes up, build you an 11-foot tall moon gate, build you a 3-story interior fireplace. You know what I mean? That type of shit.
A misconception about what you do that you normally get, whether it's from clients, whether it's from other contractors, just people in general. Is there any misconception of masons out there?
Yeah, there's probably people that say this guy is, I don't know what he's smoking, but I want some because he's way too high. Like, the price is too high.
Oh yeah.
Or the guy thinks he's a doctor. I hear that all the time. They think this or that. It's like they're getting misconstrued. Like, it's like I am ultimately a mason, but people do forget. It's like I said before, it's like there's people out there that collect art as an investment. Okay, like the moon gate is like a big ass picture that these people are buying. Like, what's that guy's Banksy or whatever? I mean, there's these artists
Yep.
out there that are getting insane shit for like way less. I'm not saying way less effort. I'm just saying, like, logistically, it's a crazy feat to build a moon gate. So I guess the misconception is like it's not worth it. It's like, well, guess what? It's not worth it to you, but there's a lot of people out there that it's worth it to. So there's that.
Anybody you want to give a shout out here that has helped you along the way, whether that's online, offline, or you look to them for inspiration? I know throughout the episode you've dropped a few names already.
Yeah.
And this is a tough one because you don't want to leave people out, but
No.
anybody that you want to give a shout out here?
All right. So, dude, there's so many. I literally couldn't tell you them all. I've already beat Lou French's name to death, but there's like who I consider like the most talented dude out there right now is Matthew Nunn. So his name's Margin Mallet. Um, you got the Stone Bear Masons out there, Bryce Hollingsworth. Dan from Maine Associates, I already said him. Um, I mean, dude, there's so many people. You got a guy that is not very well known. Like, he's well known in my area. I'm just saying, like, on the Instagram is Mike Mahaffey from Stone Wallersack. Uh, that dude is just like a stand up human being. Um, the people. So I guess, like, collectively, these type of people, these folks that you meet ultimately through this Instagram app, um, are they kind of form you into kind of who you are. You see them, what they're doing, and you want to do that, but also do it in your own way. So yeah, there's another dude out there up in Maine that I really enjoy his work. That Stone guy. So there's people like that out there. I think his name is Brian Fairfield, right?
Okay.
So his work's incredible. Yeah, people like that, man. I'm just drawing blanks, dude. I can't rifle off every name I've ever met, but dude, first and foremost, like, I would my father, dude, I would have never got into this. I started out looking at this old guy supporting a family. I was like, that's awesome. So I'm gonna do that. So first and foremost, my dad, but yeah, man. Anybody that's following along and has followed along from the beginning, dude, I do really appreciate that shit because, like, come on, man. It's like, this is what you want. You start a page, you want it to be successful, and here we are. We're on a podcast.
What shoot, that question came to mind. Okay. Yeah, going back to when you decide to start your business or to go off on your own, if you weren't to make that decision, what decision would you have made and what would you be doing right now if it wasn't for masonry?
Well, dude, I went to a private school, and then, before people assume things, it's like basically the lowest end of public school. Private school you could go to. It's like a step above public. My mother comes from she's a school teacher, so education was like paramount to her, right? And it, unfortunately for her, it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really I wasn't like the greatest student. In fact, I got class clown, believe it or not. So I guess with that being said, though, I was going to go to college. I didn't know what for. I was going to go for like law enforcement or something. I had no idea. What ended up actually happening was immediately after high school, I met my wife, who is now my wife, Sherry, and excuse me, her dad was like a supervisor at a gelatin factory in my hometown. And, you know, here I am, I'm 18, dude. I'm like 17 and a half, 18. And the guy's like, hey, like you're about to go to college and my, you know, Sherry, she's like, you can't, you know, I don't want you, we don't want you to go to college. You know what I mean? My wife, obviously, I didn't want to leave my wife. We knew that if I went down that road, things weren't going to end up the way it is now. So her dad comes to me, he's like, hey, I'll get you a job, $22 an hour. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, definitely. So I actually, a lot of people don't know this, like went down, like, dude, I have an engineering license to like run like big power plants and stuff. Cause like I went into this whole world of factory work and then like climb that ladder. So if I couldn't do masonry, I'd probably be sitting in a power plant right now running, you know, big ass steam equipment.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's dude, it's super. That could be a whole podcast in and of itself, but I don't want to go down that road.
All right, then final question here, Matt.
Yeah.
And take your time with this one if you need to, but I ask this to every business owner that comes on the show, especially as the last question that I ask, and that's one thing you know now that you wish you knew from the very beginning. And that can be business related, that can be personal related, but what's one thing that you know now that you wish you knew from the very beginning?
One thing that comes to mind that's like a repeating theme is that you cannot please everybody, no matter how hard you try. And somebody's like, it's never gonna go exactly the way you think, and you're never gonna be able to make everybody happy. Because even if you're making the guy in Gloucester happy, somebody else out there is going to be pissed off at you in one way or another. And no matter how good of a job you do, there's always going to be people that nitpick and bust your balls. So basically just kind of like, you know, just roll with the punches and hey, listen, you can't please everybody. Sorry.
Great advice, Matt. Thanks so much for joining me on the show and for giving the time that you have. I do really appreciate that. Where can our audience go find out more about you? Where do you want to point them to?
Dude, eventually I'm going to start a YouTube and we're going to do long form content on that. I got like hours and hours of, I mean, literally years worth of content that I'm planning on getting a YouTube page. So for now, go to the Instagram. And by the way, if you're listening, go on Instagram and tell me you listen to the podcast, and tell me if you think I should do a YouTube. All right.
And Instagram is Masco .construction, MASCO.construction there. Matt, thank you so much.
Hell yeah, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. Check out Matt and his beautiful work if you're not already following him. That's Masco.construction, MASCO.construction. Let him know that you heard him on the How to Hardscape podcast and show him some love there as well on his posts. Give him a follow. And if you are already there on Instagram doing so, check out Cycle CPA at cycle_CPA. And they've got great educational content. If you're looking for bookkeeping, accounting, CFO services, reach out to them, get that conversation started, and let them know how to Hardscape sent you for money off their services there. And if you're already on your phone and you are choosing the next podcast to listen to, really quickly, can you give us 5 stars rating on Spotify, Apple? Apple, you can actually leave a written review too, so that would be really helpful to us there. And we look forward to meeting with you next week on the How to Hardscape podcast.